welcome back to another episode of the Basketball Lab podcast. I'm your host, Mark Shannon, and once again, I'm joined by my co-hosts, Mark Clark and Marco Corona.
What's up, man?
Yeah, we're back, and another year.
Yep. Happy New Year, boys.
Yeah, Happy New Year to all our followers out there, to you guys as well and your families.
Everyone out there in the interweb.
Right. It's a new year, but it's same shit, different day, right? COVID's still here.
Yeah.
Same shit, different shot.
Right. we were. It's funny. We were just talking about. Well, if at this rate we're going to be taking a shot every 6 months, but I don't know what shots we're talking about.
I take shots every weekend, so I'm good.
I'll go with Don Julio there. That's a shot I prefer.
That's not the new variant, is it?
No.
That's
okay.
No.
Too soon. Never mind. Let's not turn into a cold.
That's the cure. That's the cure we're talking about.
It's funny. We were just talking about it before we got on the podcast here, right? It started off with player zero, Rudy Gobert touching all the microphones, doing all that, and just today, Rudy Gobert entered health and safety protocols. So obviously we were joking about it before. I think that's going to be the end of Corona, Omicron, Flurona, whatever the hell it's going to be next. And then we're just going to see a steep decline in things because Rudy Gobert is the
cheat code.
He's the cheat code, right? He's the guy.
Yeah. Obviously we're making light of a serious situation. We hope that he's okay, obviously. But listen, we got to have some fun with this nonsense because we've all been trapped in this
after 2 years of it.
After 2 years, man, if we can't laugh at something, then
why not Rudy Gobert?
Exactly.
By the way, do you have Rudy Gobert in the pool or no? In the team?
Let me think. No, I don't.
Okay, I don't. That's why he's making those comments. Okay,
I mean, don't get me wrong. My team was ravaged by COVID. Man, I think I only had about 5 starters for about a week or two there because everybody else was hurt.
My team was red, injured.
Yeah. Literally, I think I had about 15 guys on the IL.
Jeez. I actually don't mind that when you can put the extra IL spot and then COVID, I'll just pick up somebody else.
Yeah.
There are some good players in China, eh?
Wow.
Jeez.
Get on your list. Your team there. Give them a 10-day. Come on,
man. We were joking while obviously all this stuff was going on that we were all getting called up, right? We were all going to get those hardship deals, 10 days.
That's why we were off for 2 weeks.
Yep, exactly. That's why we've been off for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, right? Obviously, it wasn't Christmas. Exactly. It wasn't Christmas. Yeah, we
didn't go well.
Exactly.
Still waiting on my phone to ring here. Yeah. So what's new out there in the NBA world?
I think we gotta give it. Let's start talking about the team in the North, the forgotten team,
the home team.
Exactly, the home team that I think a lot of, especially Raptor fans. I mean, nobody was really expecting a lot from them this year, especially after Kyle Lowry left and all that stuff. But they've kind of turned the page a little bit. I mean, obviously they had a huge outbreak within the team, right? Literally everybody was there, right? They had to. I think they were starting. They were starting random people, just like Mark said, from China, just bringing people over. Okay, you play, right? They just needed guys. One game, they had 8 guys. Shvi Mihailuk was starting. Chris Boucher. It was pretty. It was pretty abysmal out there.
It was a game in Cleveland.
Yeah, exactly. And they got absolutely dismantled, which obviously to be expected with 8 guys, right? But they're 7-3 in their last 10. They've won 4 straight. They're getting their team back, getting fully healthy, right? A lot of these guys are coming back. Scottie Barnes, Fred VanVleet's playing very well since coming back. Yeah. So I mean,
Spicy P, we got to give him his flowers, man.
Yeah, exactly. He's playing well.
This is the best I've seen Spicy P in a long time.
Yeah, and the Raptors are now.
This is even the bubble.
The Raptors are now set in 7th spot, 1 game above 500. Right, they're a game back of a game and a half. Sorry, back of the Cleveland Cavaliers for 6th in the Eastern Conference.
World.
Right?
Can you say that again? Say that again.
They are 1.5 games back of the Cleveland Cavaliers, but
not even that. Cleveland Cavaliers.
They're 2 games back of the Philadelphia 76ers for 5th.
Wow. Now we have to take into consideration there's some games that they haven't played.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. So the math is sort of
different. Yeah, for sure.
You can only play where you play.
Exactly. They've played the least game in the league so far this season.
Right. Well, that's going to all even out eventually, right? And it's going to get rough for them, right?
Because they had some games canceled too, postponed.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, they have. Listen, they are a 500 team, right? And this is who they are right now. And I think that's reasonable for this quote unquote, and we don't call it rebuild, right? A soft retool or whatever the case is, a development year. This is, and we joked a few weeks ago about, Sabonis and Turner and all that stuff. But realistically, we were talking fantasy, but realistically, this is what this team really is right now, and this is what I'm more expected. To me, as a Raptors fan, what I was looking towards is developing Scottie Barnes, right? The return or bounce back of Pascal Siakam, okay, check, right? The growth as a leader of, our friend here, Federico VanVleet, check. And he's on the verge of potentially being an all-star for the first time. And then all the other pieces around, right? There's been some guys that have been inconsistent, like Boucher has been really up and down, right? But everybody else has sort of played their role, and you've had guys come in and out of the lineup, and Nick Nurse has had a disadvantage. Well, mind you, a lot of teams have, but it's hard to develop when you can't practice, right? It's hard to develop when you don't have the guys. It's not like these guys are stacked with big threes and killer depth and all that stuff. This team is not that deep. And they're young. They're like the 5th or 4th youngest team in the league as far as games played before this. But, I think that I'm pleasantly surprised on how good they've been lately over the last week and a half or so. And, I don't know what that means in game 65 of the season or game 72 of the season. But again, as long as you keep seeing, growth and development, I think that bodes well for the years to come, because Masai is not about that play-in stuff. They're not going to just be okay to just be okay. They want to develop and get better so they can contend, and when they're ready, pull the trigger, bring somebody in, and Bob's your uncle, right? So shout out to the Raps that and you know what? Nick Nurse does not get enough credit for the job he's done with this team over the last 2 years since the Kawhi departure. So I'm glad that that's what they're going. I'm sad that I didn't get to go to the games. Thanks a lot, COVID, when you go there. But I was supposed to go to the Clippers game. Go figure, right? The one game I was supposed to go to the Clippers game, that got gassed in the first game. Anyways, so here we are, man. Raptors are playing well.
The Clippers, your favorite team.
You need to edit that.
Pat Beverly doesn't play for them anymore, right?
I meant your favorite team to bash.
Okay, there we go. Yeah. But the Raptors, they've been pretty good, and what we're seeing here is them really getting all the pieces coming back, right? At the beginning of the league, at the start of the season, they were dealing with injuries, and then COVID took over everyone and had COVID. But yeah, shout out to Pascal, as you mentioned earlier, Margot. He came back. He's been pretty consistent, and he's getting to his spots, the spots that he gets his shots. He's getting those shots. He's making those shots. He's making some big plays too, and getting shots when he wants them.
And boards. That's what I'm impressed about. Boards.
Yeah, and boards.
Right, board man get paid, right? So.
Yeah, at the beginning of the season, he said it. He's feeling good. He had a surgery off season.
Took a while to get going.
Yeah, took a while to get going. He's back. He's feeling better. So shout out to him. It's good to see him play good basketball and just go in the game and make a difference, get his shots and stuff. Because you know how the people out there in Twitter world, I feel like he's the first. Whenever anything goes wrong with the Raptors, he's the first person to get blamed. So it's good to see him actually playing good basketball and scoring 20-something, 30-something a night. It's good to see, and I mean, he has the perfect guy there to run the floor with in Fred VanVleet.
And they came up together. They know each other, right? So
they've been going from the G League. They
won the G League together.
Then they came in the NBA part, and then they were part of the bench mob. and they won a championship together. So yeah, and I mean VanVleet is just playing phenomenal basketball. He just took every page out of Kyle's book and he just times 10. He just adds to whatever Kyle taught him. So yeah, and he's obviously killing it from behind the arc with threes. He's hitting the mid range, and when that's not working out, he's driving in the paint and he's getting buckets. I mean, for he's what, six? He's 5'11", 6, whatever. Yeah, something like that. I mean, it's amazing the stuff that he does. But yeah, and Scottie Barnes, as you mentioned, he's back. He's back scoring again. He had a little drought the other day, but it's good to see. It's good to see the team overall. And as you mentioned, Marco, Nick Nurse, got to give him credit for what he does. Because as you see in the last game, they gave up 77 points in the first half, and they came back to win that game just off defense and getting lead turn into offense, right? So
and that's what it's all about with this team, right? They're not going to be a team that has daggers, and there's not going to be. There's no. And I say this with all the respect, and Shani, I don't know if you agree with this. There's no game breaker in this team, right? Like all these guys have to play consistent, and you play defense. There's a lot of things that have to go right for the Raptors to play the way they are. And when they get momentum, when they play defense, when they turn the ball over, when they run the floor, that's basically what they are. But they don't have a LeBron. They don't have a Kawhi. They don't have a guy that you can say, okay, we're down by 10 with like 5 minutes left. Who's going to get the ball, right? Yeah, a lot of the times what happens with this team is it's a joint effort. Everybody gets going at the same time, and that's how this works. But they're not there yet. But it's good to see the trajectory is definitely on the right path.
Yeah, agreed.
So I'm just gonna say I know it's obviously still early in it, but we're kind of seeing a reversal of what happened last year, right? They had that little bit of an outbreak last year with COVID. They were doing well they were doing really well prior to it, right? Yeah. And then they had COVID, and then it just all fell apart after that.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, they were actually 500 or a game above 500.
Exactly.
And then everything turned south.
Right. And then we're kind of seeing a reversal of what happened last time, is that they weren't doing very well. Everybody caught COVID basically. Yeah. And then now they're on a little bit of a roll, playing a lot better basketball, playing team basketball. And I think we've said it before in terms of, I think Toronto has been one of the most, in my opinion, over the last 3 years, overworked teams in terms of doing a lot of different things, right? They made it to the NBA finals, right? And won there. And then you have, then COVID hit. They ended up having to move to Florida. Right, played what last year? They played in Florida as well, Tampa, right? So, right in Tampa. So it's just it's been a whirlwind, and now again you're seeing the same thing, right? Now they're playing at home, yes, but there's no fans playing. There's no fans there, right, for the last few weeks. But they just seem to be a better team in terms of this time around than they were last year at this basically a very similar point in time, right? Like, yeah. So I mean, obviously, I think for Raptor fans and for us alike, it's good to see that this is happening, because it's a pleasant surprise, right? You know what I mean? Nobody was expecting them to. I don't think anybody was expecting them to be world beaters out here, right? They're not going to go out and win 72 games out of the year, right? But I mean, a lot of people expected that. I think we all said it, or at least one of us said it, that we expected them to be around a 500 team this year, right? And that's what they're playing at right now. And if they play like this consistently, we know the Eastern Conference has always been a weaker conference to sneak into the playoffs, right? You only have to stay around about 500 to kind of maybe even. Obviously, we know Masai doesn't want to play in the play-in games, but I mean, if he gets into the play-in game, he's not going to say we're not playing, right? So staying at 500, I think. That's a good thing for the Toronto Raptors, in my opinion.
Absolutely. By the way, just breaking news right here. Not speaking about the Clippers, Kawhi Leonard apparently could return this season. Apparently he's ahead of schedule, according to Chris Haynes of Yahoo Sports. So
you don't say.
the claw is almost on his way back. So we'll see what happens there.
We're going to see a Kawhi and Clay return?
Well, Clay's due what, this weekend, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. It's exciting. That's good. It's good for the game. I don't care much about the Clippers. It's good for the game.
They need the help. They could use the help. So we love to see Kawhi back in the game.
For sure. As basketball fans, we do. Absolutely.
Yeah,
So I have to break that
absolutely.
in. I have to break that in.
Absolutely. Speaking of Eastern Conference teams and some teams that are maybe overachieving, one team that's sort of underachieving, in my opinion, we'll go to them before you move on to the top team, the New York Knicks. I mean, are they? They're under, like, did they overachieve last year, or are they worse than they were like last year? Like, that's, I mean, obviously we just saw RJ Barrett, the king of Canada right now for Canada basketball, just hit that buzzer beater, right? Just hit that buzzer beater over the Boston Celtics, like literally draped, right?
Don't let Jamal Murray enter the chat, my guy.
Wow. You got to see, Jamal's got to get back. But right now, there's no question that RJ Barrett is the best Canadian basketball player in playing in the NBA right now, right?
Above Andrew Wiggins.
Andrew Wiggins is there, but Andrew Wiggins, he's not been consistent. Consistently, like RJ Barrett's been consistently getting better year after year since he's been in the NBA, right? He's only been in the league, 2 years now, 3 years? And I
that's
find
the
that
thing, though.
That's the thing.
He's young. He's just coming
young,
up, right?
and he's right. And obviously,
Andrew's getting older. He's been in there for some time.
Yeah. Well,
Andrew's sort of evolved as a player, in my opinion. Like when he came out of high school and when he was in Kentucky, he was obviously he was a scorer. That's what he was there for. The high flyer, the dunker, all that stuff. And Andrew's kind of changed his game to be more of a defensive guy that leads to the offense, right? He's a good defensive player, but it's leading to offense. He's matured a lot, in my opinion, over his career so far, over his short career, right? And RJ Barrett's come into the league out of Duke, right? He was expected to be this sort of, right? Not your favorite, but he was expected to be not a star, but like he was expected to be a solid contributor for the New York Knicks, right? But I think in my opinion, he's exceeded expectations of what I thought he was going to be, right? I thought he was going to be a good basketball player, but I didn't think he was going to be, he's in my opinion, when Julius Randle's having an off night, like him and Julius Randle are the 1 and 2 on that team. There's no question, right? If you don't go to Julius, you're going to RJ Barrett to get you that bucket, right? And we saw it tonight. But I mean, getting back to the Knicks in general, not just RJ, but do you think that they're worse than they were last year, or do you think that they overachieved last year more than they were supposed to, more than they should have, than they did? Like,
I'll start here since I am the Knick hater by trade. I think the Knicks, to your point, definitely overachieved last year, right? And I think that what happened was, first of all, the Knicks have been trashed forever, right? So then they have, one good season, right? And then things happen to go your way right now. Remember, the structure of the Eastern Conference has also changed over the last year, right? So the Knicks run into, like, listen, you got to be good to be lucky and lucky to be good. And I think that they actually also had a lot of good luck go their way. And what happened was they rode that momentum of not being crap. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So now this year, so this is where the overachieving comes last year. This year, now they were expected to be better than they were last year, which last year was an anomaly for them over the last decade, right? So I think actually the Knicks are exactly who they were supposed to be last year, but now they're showing their true colors because, let's face it, you mentioned RJ Barrett, right? They added Fournier, right? But, and then what's his name? The big fellow, you just mentioned his name. Julius Randle. Wow, it's late. I don't know what's going on, right? Like, let's face it. Like, if you line up Barrett and Randle, can you honestly say that these are your, like in any other franchise, your 1A guys at any given point? The answer is no. I don't think that they are. They're very good players. It's the same way we sort of look at Pascal Siakam, right? Pascal Siakam is a better player when he doesn't have to be the guy, right? But now these guys have to, like, especially Randle, by the way. Now they have to be the man and the Mecca, right? And they have to meet and exceed expectations from last year, right? And you saw it tonight. The place was jumping. They got a game winner, this and that. But let's face it. Look at their standings, right? They're a mediocre team on average at best, right? Fournier, like you said, Mark, before we started recording, he only seems to play well against Boston.
Yep.
Right? That's when he goes off.
He has their number.
You know what surprises me about this, and I know you want to jump in here? This is a Tom Thibodeau team. So when you look at a Tom Thibodeau team, and we'll talk about the other former Tom Thibodeau team in a bit, what do you think of first? Defense. Work hard, play hard. And we have not seen that at all from the Knicks. Like when they're on, great. But when they're off, they're awful. They're right now, I'm going to say this right now, and I'm not biased. They are not better than the Raptors, regardless of the record, period. Even if the Raptors were below 500, I still take the Raptors over the New York Knicks. The Knicks have no consistency at all, and they have no excuses, right? There's not a bunch of rookies playing on that team. So, yeah, I think that last year, it's a long answer. Last year, they definitely overachieved. And actually, I think that they've taken a step back, and they're actually supposed to be where they were last year.
You know, I'm going to keep it short because I think you touched it all there, Mark.
I took too much time. I know. My bad.
No, you kind of hit it on the head right there. But I think the key here with the Knicks is Randle. I think he hasn't been consistent this season, which he was more consistent last season, which is why I feel like the team was so good. He hasn't been consistent this season, and I don't know what's going on there with him. But I feel like he's kind of the key. As you mentioned, he's not the LeBron James or the Kawhi that's gonna lead a team to a final.
You just said it. He's not a game breaker.
Yeah, no, he's not. But I guess based on the team dynamic, the team does depend on him a lot.
Correct.
So I think he's the key, and I think because he has been so inconsistent, the team has been mediocre this season, and it's a little bit surprising because, as we mentioned, everyone thought they would have been better this season, right? Based on how they played last season.
And don't forget, Kemba Walker has had one good week, and that's about it.
Yeah.
But other than that deal has been absolute trash.
Yeah.
So I was literally just about to say. So last year they didn't have Kemba Walker in the roster, right? This year you add Kemba Walker to the roster, and I'm just referring to you add Kemba Walker to the mix, and they don't. But he hasn't been playing though. No, I know, but he's still playing 20. He's still averaging 27 minutes a night.
That's the point. Why isn't Kemba Walker playing? You know why? Because he's been trash.
Yeah, and
he was benched for like 2 weeks.
But exactly. But then you also have, what's his name had an outstanding season last year, Derrick Rose, right? And he's been hurt. He's been hurt again, but like he was relegated to the bench more. He wasn't playing as much as he was. Emmanuel quickly had a great season. He's having a great season again this year. Right. And they're not giving these guys opportunity because you're bringing a guy like Kemba Walker, who's a veteran present. I get it. They were expecting more from him, but it's Kemba Walker. Like, we all know what Kemba Walker is. He's a great player, but he's very, very inconsistent. He's not a guy that's going to go out there and score 30 points a night, right? He's going to be a guy that's going to score 15, 25, 12. He's going to have a good night, a bad night, a good night, a bad night.
He'll go off a few times, right?
Exactly.
Like he did last week or
the first game you put him in. Like he's been out for a couple of games, and then
he goes back into his shell, and he goes back into his shell, and he doesn't do much, right? So it's like you bring in a guy like that for a veteran presence, and it's like, okay, well, what did I bring this guy in for? He's not doing anything for me. You know what I mean? Like, he's not doing anything for the team. He's not making the team better, right? They were a good team last year. Obviously, COVID happened. A lot of teams were dealing with a lot of injuries, and I think not a lot of people are giving enough credit to that. For the New York Knicks' success, they took advantage of that, right?
Whoa! Almost said Lakers.
I know, right? But but I don't think a lot of people are taking advantage of that. I aren't looking at that as like, oh, the Knicks had a great season last year. Yeah, they did, but I think there was extenuating circumstances in that. Yeah, they had a great season, but I mean, a lot of teams were dealing with injuries. A lot of teams were dealing with COVID. obviously you're going to have more teams. Like if you don't get a lot of COVID cases, you're going to have a better season, right? Because you're going to have your full roster against guys that aren't, right? So we're seeing sort of a different effect, and it's going the opposite way for the Knicks, in my opinion.
I think that the analytics people call it a market correction.
Exactly.
Right? Or you regress back to the means. Like
exactly. Right. And we're all going to blame it on Kemba Walker, plain and simple.
That's easy.
So basically, you're saying all the stars aligned for them last season. And
absolutely, for no question.
Make
right?
it relevant.
Yeah. Well, and then far the standings show that. Right?
Exactly.
So far their play shows it. So far the fact that they're bottom third in the league in defense and defensive rating and pace and all that good stuff in offense, it tells you exactly what you need to know about the Knicks.
So, but
inconsistent trash.
I mean, another thing, you look at it. You look at it this way. I'm just going to throw another team out there. The two teams that faced off against each other in that round, right? In the first round, right? Atlanta, ice tray and thing. Both of them are sitting 11th and 12th right now, right? So obviously, I think there's a little bit of fact to what I'm saying here, right? I mean, at the end of the day, obviously, I don't think we expect the Cleveland Cavaliers to finish in the playoffs. Right. I think there's going to be a market correction in terms of that. I think we're going to see some teams move up and down and shift and stuff and like that. But I mean, at the end of the day, both those teams were playoff teams last year. Both those teams are on the outside looking in right now. So I mean, right?
Okay. and the common denominator on those two teams is their defense absolutely stinks.
Absolutely.
If Atlanta had a middle of the road defense, like 15th, maybe 12th, or halfway, not really good, but not bad, they'd be probably where Cleveland is.
Yeah.
Their defense absolutely stinks to the point that you have Ice Tray. I have to do this every time you say that, right? That's his thing. He has to go out there and drop 40, 45, 50 burgers, and they're still losing by 8.
It reminds me of, you remember the James Harden Rockets?
Yeah.
James Harden would score 50-something every night, and they'll still lose by 4 or 5.
And their defense stunk.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think
there's something.
Yeah, they need to do something for both those teams. I think
there's talent in that team, and I truly do believe that team's more talented than the New York Knicks as far as actual talent. Right? They have a game breaker, Ice Tray, and they have Collins and all these other pieces, but nobody has taken that step up.
Yeah.
Like other than Ice Tray, everybody's sort of either plateaued or taking a notch down. And again, listen, expectations and pressure are a real thing. Right? Where you're not expected to do something great and you do it, you're fantastic. But when the time comes when you're supposed to do what we all say you should do, your true colors show. Right? And that's what consistency is about.
Quick question though. Do we sometimes as fans put too much expectations on these teams? Let's for example the Knicks.
Well, I mean, I think no, because if you have a sample size of what they can be and then they regress, right, then that's on them. That's their own pressure that they have put in, right? Yeah. Forget what the analysts say. We're not experts here in this podcast. We're just, 3 guys talking ball. But at the same time, you cannot tell me that even last year, at the end of the season, when the Knicks lost to Atlanta, you said, okay, the Knicks are going to be actually worse next year. No, you figured they'd be at least about the same or slightly better. And they've actually regressed. And they've added all these supplementary pieces. And they got Kemba Walker on a bargain deal because he got cut because he stinks, right? Mm-hmm. And they haven't made that extra step up. What the Knicks need is exactly what the Raptors are working towards, but in a different trajectory, right? They don't have a game breaker. So I don't know if it happens in the offseason by a trade or whatever it is, because we heard this for the last 15 years. The Knicks have to bring somebody in who's a star so they can be, okay, well, if this is a 500 team, then they need that Kawhi, they need that KD, they need that other guy. But let me tell you something. It's not happening anytime soon.
No.
It's not happening anytime soon the way they're going.
Like you said, they need a game breaker, right? You said earlier, like, when the Raptors, right? The Raptors didn't have a game breaker. The Knicks need the same thing. They need a game breaker. But I mean, speaking of game breakers, right? We got a guy that used to be a Toronto Raptor, playing for your Chicago Bulls there, DeMar DeRozan. He's playing absolutely lights out for the Chicago Bulls. Obviously, I mean, they were arguably the most active team in the offseason last year, right? They brought in At the deadline, they brought in Vucevic, right? They already had Zach LaVine. Then you signed Lonzo Ball, you signed DeMar DeRozan, you signed Alex Caruso, right? They obviously built this team because
underrated, by the way.
right? Oh, absolutely. That Alex Caruso was probably one of the most underrated pickups of the offseason, in my opinion. There's no question.
Yeah.
I think he brings it on both ends of the floor. There's no question. Yeah. And they're sitting first in the Eastern Conference. They're playing some really good basketball. DeMar DeRozan's in the MVP talk. I mean, we've seen that before in Toronto where he's been in the MVP consideration, right? But and then when it comes to the playoff times, things change, right? But I mean, he's got a little bit more in terms of, I think, talent around him this time around, right? But you look at that starting five. I mean, yeah, they don't play a lot of good defense. Other than Alex Caruso, Vucevic is pretty bad at defense. DeMar DeRozan, he's all right. He's never been a great defender, right? Yeah. Average. Zach LaVine, same thing, right? So you look at that team, it's a thing, but that starting five of Lonzo Ball, DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, Vucevic, right? Like that's a pretty stacked starting five. I mean, there's no question that team is deserves to be at the top of the NBA standings in terms of the Eastern Conference, and I think they're right now, obviously, the cream of the crop in the Eastern Conference. And they also had a huge COVID outbreak too, right? Like they dealt with a lot of people missing, a lot of people out, in and out of the lineup. So and they've been able to stay relatively consistent, right? They're 8-2 in their last 10. They've won 8 straight. They're playing some really good basketball. So I want to know your guys' take on the Chicago Bulls and the Eastern leading Chicago Bulls and DeMar DeRozan and possibly being in that MVP consideration.
Boy, oh boy. I don't know if you want to go first, Clark.
I mean, shout out to Debo. He's getting it done this season. He's definitely in that MVP talk. You remember when the Bulls picked him up, and some people are saying this is the worst signing off the offseason or something like that.
Those people are high, yes.
We're drunk.
He's just making all of them people eat their words right now because it's like he's telling everyone in the league to hold my beer, and he's just going off game after game after game. It's almost like Kobe has possessed his body, and I mean, to me personally, I think he's the best mid-range player in the league today.
Not even close.
For me. Yeah. There's no one in this league that has the mid-range down to a T like
I would say so. Yeah.
And the way he's playing this season, you can see that like he wants to get in to make a run with this team and be in the finals, whether it's the Eastern Finals or the NBA Finals. That team wants to go somewhere. I mean,
let's pump our brakes now. Hold on.
I know they have the Nets to deal with there, but they have been playing some really good basketball, and I'm happy for Debo. I'm happy to see him do what he's doing right now. He definitely deserves to be in that MVP discussion.
Cool thing. So number one, I apologize because I trashed the Bulls in this offseason, not because of the moves they made, because I've seen this dog and pony show before, where the Bulls make a lot of moves and then they fuck it up. So far, so good.
Before you continue, shout out to my pick for coach of the year, by the way.
Okay, first of all,
got to get that in there.
Really? Okay. In fairness, I was gonna go there.
He's not on my fantasy team. I'll say
that. You can do coach's fantasy? Wow.
Yeah, right.
It's a whole other show. Listen, DeMar has been playing MVP-like basketball right now. It doesn't mean that he's going to be the MVP, but this is what sort of the Chicago Bulls have been, wanting for years since they broke up that team with Butler and Rose and Luol Deng and Tom Thibodeau, we just talked about. Those were some good-ass Chicago Bulls teams. And ever since then, and before that, it was trash, and then after that, it was trash. So in between, it has been really good. And now they're finally respectable. It's still early, so we'll see what happens. My apology letter is in pencil for now. Billy Donovan has done a phenomenal job. You're absolutely right. Just riding the ship with this team. And to your point, Sandy, like his team had a massive COVID outbreak, and he had guys coming in and out of lineup for a long time, including DeRozan, right? But their depth kept them afloat. Kobe White has been spectacular, and he's not even starting, if I'm not mistaken. But this team has been up and down, fantastic. So I'm going to be Debbie Downer for 1 second because I have to. The great equalizer with great teams in the regular season is the playoffs. And you alluded to that I'm not shitting on DeMar DeRozan. I have his jersey upstairs in my closet, right? Number 10, black and gold, OVO style. That's my guy, right? Him and Lowry, I'll never disrespect. But the track record speaks for itself.
Yeah.
Because we had the same conversation about Lowry for years, right? Until he proved it in the playoffs. He was just a regular season guy, and first and second round, cute, but when it mattered the most, where were you at? Right? They split up, and then you saw what happened. Doesn't mean that DeRozan's trash, but again, let's see it in the playoffs because you made a very good point here. We've seen this play from DeRozan before. If Raptor fans remember, I don't remember the year, but there was that 1 year where DeRozan was just going off, and there was MVP chance at that time at Canada Center, and deservedly so. I usually trash MVP chance in like November, but this guy was really good for most of the season. Then he fell off a little bit because things happen, and then in the playoffs again, he's average at best. He'll have his games here and there. So, but the Chicago Bulls have definitely been the opposite of the New York Knicks. And another point that you made is COVID last year and all the moves that the Chicago Bulls made last year. There was a lot of transactions made in the middle of the season or a trade deadline. And that's a lot to ask for a team to gel and take off, right? They brought in Vucevic, they brought in other pieces, and I believe they actually got worse, right? Which, it was obvious that this team wasn't ready for that next level. And now they put the right pieces together. Levine has been outstanding, and DeRozan and Vucevic he hasn't had to be Vucevic over Orlando. Just go out there, do your job. We know that you're not good defensively, but just take care of business. Now we're going to have to see what the Bulls do. I think that they're going to make the playoffs, right? It's pretty safe. It would have to be a massive collapse.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Playoffs. And then we'll see how they match up. But the other great equalizer here is we're not out of COVID yet.
No.
Right? Guys get sick in and out of the lineup. Things can change a lot. But shout out to the Chicago Bulls because, again, my apology letter is in pencil, but they've definitely earned the right to be. Are they the number 1 seed as we speak right now?
Yeah.
The number 1 in the East, yeah. By a game and a half.
They've earned it.
I think 27-10, I think.
Yeah.
So you're saying
they're a fun team to watch too, by the way. This is not just your grinded out, boring team. This is a fun team to watch.
Yeah. So you're saying the playoffs is going to be the ultimate test for DeRozan's career?
I think it has been already, and it's been,
because if they don't go far in the playoffs, there's going to be talk about DeRozan.
100%, right?
It's going to be same old Raptors shit for DeRozan.
Right. And I think the two things have to happen. The Bulls either have to go far or he has to play well enough to show that this is not the same old DeRozan. And I think that he has the ability to do that, but we will see what happens. Let's not sit here and forget that, pretend that the Brooklyn Nets are dead. Somehow everybody forgotten that Milwaukee won the championship last year. Right, so there's all these good teams in the East that we're prisoners of the moment, right? Like we are so happy that the Bulls are this and that and much fun, but hey, Milwaukee's still alive. Yeah. Last time I checked, Giannis Antetokounmpo still plays in the NBA. So let's just pump our brakes. Yes, he does. Apparently, Mark has him in his fantasy team.
We're talking about his brother.
I actually don't have him on my fantasy team. Actually.
Well,
surprising.
I tried to draft him, but he was gone before I could get to him, so I had to take Karl Anthony Towns instead. But
sorry about that.
Right, but DeMar DeRozan's having one of his best seasons. Right, it's like 2016, 2017 DeMar DeRozan where he was averaging I think about 27 points in 2016-17 with the Raptors. Right now he's averaging with the Bulls almost 27 points a game. He's shooting close to 50% from the field. Right, he's also having one of his best seasons in terms of turnovers per game with only about just over 2 a game. So we're seeing a different DeMar DeRozan than we saw before. But again, yeah, like the ultimate decider in terms of how good this Chicago Bulls team is, it's going to be the playoffs, right? And how good they could be against the big teams, right? Like against the Milwaukee Bucks, against the Brooklyn Nets, against the 76ers if they make it into the playoffs. That's what's going to be the deciding factor in terms of how good this Bulls team actually is and could be for future seasons.
Yeah, and you know what? We got to give him some credit too for adding the three ball to his game, because it does. He's shooting like 36% from the three this season, which is that's a fairly good number, shooting the three
for him. Yeah.
For him, yeah, for a guy who never used to shoot threes,
right?
So you got to give him some credit for adding that to like improving his game in that perspective.
But I will say, I mean, yeah, he's maybe doing it, but I mean, he's only attempting about 2 3-pointers a game, right? He's not really
efficiency.
All game winners. All game winners.
Exactly, but that's what I mean, right? Like, I mean, it's not like he's taking 10 shots a game, right? He's obviously right, but he's still, you know what I mean? He's averaging what? He's basically at what 40, almost close to 37%, right? So
he's reversed James Harden.
Right. Obviously, before that, we can obviously look at his stats. It's going to be a different stat line, right? He was 28%, 27%, 22% over 3 seasons with the Spurs from the 3-point line. So obviously, it's a big difference, but he's going to have to start, I think, taking more shots from the 3-point line, right?
Well, defenses will adjust and they'll force them, right?
For sure, exactly.
Push him out of that mid range to your point.
I mean, He's definitely increased in terms of his 3-point attempts per game, right? I mean, with the Raptors over 9 season, he attempted only basically two 3-pointers for an entire career, a game, right? And just under 1 a game. Like, he was barely taking any 3-point shots with the Spurs, right? And that's why Mark said, right, he's arguably one of the best mid-range guys in the game, because that's what he does, right? He's a guy that gets into the lane, hits his mid-range shots, drives to the hoop, gets his layups, gets his dunks, gets all that stuff, right? So
he's a throwback, right?
Exactly. And that's what DeMar DeRozan was known for when he was with Toronto, right? He wasn't known for a guy that was going to hit the 3-point shot. He was known for the guy that was going to be able to hit those high-flying dunks, drive to the hoop with those crazy layups and stuff like that. Yeah. So I mean, I hope he keeps it up. I mean, I've always liked DeMar DeRozan when he was a Toronto Raptor. I've always said that he doesn't have the it factor to get it done in the playoffs, right? And
easy, Paul Pierce.
He doesn't have the it factor to get it done in the playoffs, in my opinion. But we'll see what happens this year with the Chicago Bulls. Speaking of it factors, there's a gentleman by the name of Ja Morant.
Oof, I thought you were going to say Ja Rule.
Ja Rule, no Ja Rule. Ja Morant with the Memphis Grizzlies, having arguably one of the best seasons of his career, a short career already, right? There's no question that I think he's a runaway favorite for most improved player. The Memphis Grizzlies are sitting what? Fourth in the Western Conference at 25 and 14. They're 7-3 in their last 10. They've won 6 straight. I mean, the guy's doing it all on the floor. I mean, obviously, if people didn't think that he was going to be an all-star, they need to give their head a shake. I mean, Ja Morant has been showing, like, in the games that he's been able to play, that he's got the all-star ability. Yeah, he's maybe had some inconsistencies over his career, the injuries and stuff like that. But we're talking about one of the youngest players, one of the great young players in the NBA, one of the great young point guards in the NBA. And there's no question that Ja Morant, the sky's the limit for this guy. And I mean, yeah, there's no question that he should also be in the MVP consideration, in my opinion, as well.
Wow. That, first of all, like, I don't know if we can find the people who didn't think that Ja Morant was going to be an all-star or this caliber player. And like I said before we started recording, from what I know, and I give credit where credit is due, there's only one person of the so-called experts that said this guy is a legit bona fide all-star. And then a lot of people sort of scoffed at that. Listen, we both, and the three of us saw this guy coming out of college. This guy was fantastic. And, you know, he's a top, you know, he was drafted high for a reason. Yes, you mentioned this before when we got on the air that he had some injury-plagued issues, which perhaps, sort of give him a disadvantage of people looking at him as, hey, that guy's really good, right? But I also think it has a lot to do with where he plays. So this goes back to what I'm saying. Like if he played in New York, we have a whole different conversation.
For sure.
Last year, never mind this year. Last year, right? This guy is a bona fide all-star. There's no emergent. He is an all-star. Like forget the accolades and all-star games and all that stuff. This guy is a game breaker. If he's not there yet, he is going to be. I think that he's been fantastic. But the other thing that goes under appreciated about the Memphis Grizzlies and Ja Morant's great play is two things. Dylan Brooks, when he's healthy, fantastic. Number one. Number two, Baines. What's his name? Bain, right?
Yeah.
Desmond Bain.
He
has been a complete
yeah
blessing to that team, averaging about 17.5 points per game. And he's got a good supporting cast. And now he can do his thing. He can't just focus on him too, right? And everybody sort of just comes back to a level that they can all play. Memphis, now, I don't know if they're overachieving. I really don't. But who gives a crap, right? Because it's a young, fun team. They're sitting fourth in the West. I don't know what their ceiling is at this point. And they made the playoffs last year, correct? They were in the play-in.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? So it's not like this is a fluke of a development thing that the trajectory is like, all of a sudden they're having, we should have seen this coming if we didn't already. But Ja Morant, my goodness, this guy, if you didn't appreciate what he did before, then welcome to the Ja Morant show, because this guy is the real deal. And like I said to you guys the other day, the fact that ESPN had him 15th or 16th or whatever it was in their top 30 under 25 just goes to tell you that people sometimes, don't look at the actual play, but they look at stats a little bit too much.
Yeah,
right.
Sure.
And doesn't tell you the entire story. This guy can straight out ball.
Yeah. I mean, go ahead.
No. I was just gonna say work ethic. Like he's just got an outstanding work ethic.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's so much fun watching him play ball. He's in my opinion, he's gonna be the next LeBron James type player that sells ticket. People will buy tickets to go watch this guy play
in Memphis or somewhere else. Because I have to always put
I'm gonna go with somewhere else, somewhere in the New York, LA region. So.
Why do you do that?
Just gonna say, but yeah, he's an all-star and he's a trending superstar. What he's gonna be. He's just a phenomenal player, man. He's averaging 25 points, 49% from the field, 40% from behind the arc. I mean, for a young player, he's just great to watch. And if he can continue to stay healthy and play some good basketball, he's gonna be the name of the NBA when some people retire, some of them old heads retire. In
other words, the entire Lakers team.
Yeah, pretty much. He's gonna be the guy that everyone's gonna be buying his jersey and buying tickets to go watch Ja Morant play basketball. Take my word for it.
I'm going to jump on Mark's statement here in terms of if he's playing anywhere else. I think there's no question he's playing anywhere else. Ja Morant puts butts in seats, right? Memphis, you look at it, like, I mean, look at them. Look at what they're doing this year. And I mean, they're averaging I think about 14,500 fans per game. I mean, right? They're bottom five in the league in terms of attendance per game, right? You're talking about the Pacers, Pistons, Thunder, Kings, Grizzlies, right? One of those things is not like the other. One of those teams is in the playoffs. The other teams are nowhere near the playoffs, right? I mean, it's kind of ironic and weird to see like a team that's playing some outstanding basketball. You mentioned it, Marco. You got Ja Morant's playing outstanding, Dylan Brooks playing outstanding, Desmond Baines playing outstanding, Jaren Jackson Jr.'s come back this season, right? He's come back and he's played outstanding. They moved out Jonas Valanciunas and brought in Steven Adams as more so of a of a role player, right? And he's become a role
It's an
player
upgrade on
that they-
defense.
right?
And
Exactly, right.
And a vet too for the team because it's mostly younger guys.
Well, exactly, right.
Yeah.
And you got the Anthony Melton. He's playing some really good basketball, right? Brandon Clark, Kevin Anderson. You look at this roster; it's a lot of players that are contributing to this team, and no wonder why they're 12 games above 500. But Ja Morant, like we're talking about, arguably one of the best young players in the NBA right now. He's averaging. It's not even just the point totals. He's also getting involved on in assists. He's has 7 assists, averaging about 7 assists per game. I think that's the best of his career, right? He's gone from I think in terms of assists, right? His assist totals, right?
Actually, almost 7 assists and,
I'll say it's
almost
about
6 rebounds.
Yeah. So I mean, I should say it's not as thing, but he's averaging more rebounds. I should say that I got a little bit mixed up there. So he's better on the rebounding side.
Yeah.
He's getting involved more in terms of that stuff. Assists, he's doing that as well. But he's averaging, like you said, 26 points per game.
25 points per game.
25 points per game, 26 points per game, and he's doing it with highlight reel plays too, right? It's not like he's just doing it. And like Marco said, he's fearless. He's gonna drive to the hoop, and he's gonna take a body with him, right? He's gonna take a body with him, and he's gonna put a poster. He's gonna get a card, right? You're gonna be seeing that all the time from
highlight reel, yeah,
right? A highlight reel play from this guy because he's got ability for a guy that's a smaller guy. He's got a lot of height, a lot of hops in those things. I think we talked about it before, maybe, I don't know, last year or the year before, where he had a lot of we wanted to see him in a dunk competition, right? Because
Correct.
he's just right.
Yeah.
Exactly. He's got some serious hops.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think he's just an outstanding player. And I hate to say it, I don't want to see it wasted away in Memphis. Hopefully they can somehow get on a run and make the playoffs and maybe make a deep run in the playoffs and not get some fan interaction there, because when Zach Randolph was there, Marcus Saul, and they right, and they were winning basketball games.
It was a tough,
right. It was a tough place to play, right? And there right, and there was enough fans in there. I mean, obviously, I don't think they were selling out every game still, but I mean, when you
could not go in there and come out beat up, man.
Well, exactly.
Beat up, like holy smokes.
Well, and when you used to go there, it was like, okay, when you get used to losing so much, it's like, man, how do I go and follow a team? Yeah, they may be winning, but I don't want to go start buying tickets or buying season tickets to watch a team that's gonna, end up losing again, right? So you gotta mitigate it. So hopefully they can keep this up, and in the playoffs it just booms, right? But I mean, the sky's the limit for Ja Morant, in my opinion.
Doesn't he kind of remind you of a young, more efficient version of Russell Westbrook? Explosive, just fearless, right? Will go down the lane, cram it on your face. He'll tell you to your face, I'm not scared of you, and I'm going to show you. He just reminds me of that, but a little bit better shooter overall as far as his efficiency is concerned.
Early OKC Westbrook.
Yeah, but correct. But I think they're even more efficient at this stage of their careers as far as youth and age is concerned. But we'll see where that goes, right? And I hope that it's in Memphis. But, hey, Toronto's not bad in July either, right?
They have a pretty good summer here.
Yeah,
exactly.
Ready to the off guard or whatever. Nick Nurse can make it happen, man. You know that. Let's start a rumor. Go tweet it out.
Make some calls, Messiah.
Yeah.
All right.
Send it from Antonio Brown's account.
So
we're still alive.
So let's go around the table here and give one hot take each. You got a minute. Let's see, one hot take each.
My hot take is that the Memphis Grizzlies that we just spoke about. You ready for this one? Okay.
Yep.
The Memphis Grizzlies get to the Western Conference Final. That's my hot take.
Western Conference Finals.
You heard me. I didn't stutter. The Memphis Grizzlies, that's my hot take. Doesn't mean I'm right. I'm just saying. My hot take is that this team rides the wave of a Phoenix-like rise. It doesn't mean they'll get into the finals. I'm not saying that. Look at all the teams that are falling off. Do you trust Utah? No. Right? Are the Lakers the same? No. The Clippers, Kawhi's coming back in June and they're not even going to play? No. Right? So really, there's how many teams do you really trust? Phoenix, Golden State, and Memphis right now. And I trust Memphis because they're young and they have nothing to lose. And those are the most dangerous teams. And they have nothing to lose. So my hot take is the Memphis Grizzlies are going to the Western Conference Finals against his Phoenix Suns. Not Golden State. Golden State no, you know what? That's another hot take. I'm cheating. Never mind. Go on. I made this up.
I'll keep mine short and spicy. My hot take is the LA Lakers will not make it past first round.
Wow.
That's my hot take. I don't think
really hot? Is it really hot? You know what? It is. It should be.
Somewhat, yeah. I mean, based on and what LeBron was saying in the offseason. Remember what he was saying? How everyone was saying this team is old and whatnot, then he's gonna show them and this and that. I mean, pretty much what everyone said when he gathered this team is basically coming is the expectation.
He's done his part. He's done his part.
Yeah, get a bunch of trash players.
Yeah, everybody else has been absolute garbage.
Yeah. Yeah, he's done his part. I mean, he's having a really if you just take him out of that the equation, just his game alone, standalone, he's having a great season. He's having 30-point game every game.
He's carrying that team.
Yeah, he's literally carrying that team right now. But yeah, my hot take is Lakers won't make it past first round.
All right, we got Memphis, Western Conference Finals. Lakers not going to get out of the first round. This one is going to be good.
Imagine if Lakers play Memphis in the first round.
Then we're screwed.
But I've already given my hot take earlier on in this thing where I said the Golden State Warriors were going to be the Western Conference. Fine, we're going to win the Western Conference.
Oh, it's a lukewarm take?
No, that was my take, right? Like I said, they were going to win even over the Phoenix Suns. They were going to make the Western Conference Finals and represent the Western. They were going to I said they were going to finish as the number 1 seed over the Phoenix Suns. That's what I said, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm going to have to obviously change that up. I'm not changing my thing. I still think they're going to finish as the first seed, especially with Clay coming back.
That's why it's called hot takes.
Right? That's why it's called. I'm not changing my hot take. That's what it is. That's what I'm saying. I'm sticking to it. I don't even know where to even go from this. Like what hot take am I going to use? I've got a bunch here.
Give me something in the East.
Yeah, I'm going to give something East. I'm going to stick with the Toronto Raptors.
Making the playoffs?
I think that the Toronto Raptors are going to make the playoffs as the 5th or 6th seed in the Eastern Conference. I think Fred VanVleet's going to be an all-star this season. Okay. Right? Obviously, I don't think that's really a hot take, but I think the Raptors are going to play consistently the rest of the season. I think they're going to finish 10 games above 500.
How many?
10 games above 500.
Okay.
I said they're gonna finish 10 games above 500. I think they're gonna play some consistent basketball down the stretch down here, right? And I think they're gonna make the playoffs as a 5th or 6th seed in the Eastern Conference. You know, maybe they do make the play-in game, maybe they don't, but my hot take is they're going to finish as a 5th or 6th seed in the Eastern Conference.
But not only that, he added the 10 games over 500.
Absolutely,
that's the key here.
Exactly.
Right? It's a 2-part hot take. It's a double hot take.
We're already
playoffs as a 5th seed, potentially 4th if you get a home court, if you move up one spot, and 10 games over the watermark.
Mm-hmm. But you got to go bigger. You go bigger, you go home, right? You don't. You can't.
I feel like we're all already home. So
hey, it's not called hot take for a reason, and I like it. I like it
exactly. So that's what it is. We've got them now. They're recorded, like you said. Everybody's gonna hear it. Everybody's gonna know what I said. And again, if it comes back to it, I don't want anybody asking for autographs after if I predict it right. I don't want to.
Things just got weird.
I'm just kidding.
So you're saying put some Bitcoins on that?
No.
Take it to Vegas?
Yeah, put some props on it. Put some prop bets on it.
Never a bad thing to go to Vegas.
Yeah, never a bad thing to go to Vegas. Put some futures. And when they ask you why you're doing that, you're going to say, Mark Shannon The Basketball Lab podcast said the Raptors were finishing as the 5th or 6th seed in the Eastern Conference, and they were finishing right, exactly, and finishing 10 games above 500.
Listen, if they finish 10 games above 500, we're gonna change the name of this podcast to the Guru and the Boys.
There you go. See?
The Canadian Swami.
Yeah.
Well, we'll end it off on that note. If you're not following us on social media, you got to head over to our Instagram at the B-Ball Lab, or you could follow us on our Twitter as well. Same handle at the B-Ball Lab. We're also on YouTube at the Basketball Lab podcast. Right, you could find us on all our social medias. We have TikTok.
We're in the socials, baby.
We have them all. So give us a follow. Give us a like. Comment on some of our posts. Give us
your hot take.
Right. Give us your hot take. And let us exactly. Let us know what you want to talk. If there's something you want us to talk about on the podcast, you let us know, and we'll talk about it.
Let us know what you agree with, what you don't agree with,
and don't fight.
Yeah.
Okay? Let's not fight.
No. We have to have the fighting. No, we have to have the fighting. We have
actually, I don't mind the fighting.
Right, we have to have the fighting. Right, let the fighting
commence. Just say shit and then I just drop it.
Literally, let the fighting.
So you're saying they're okay to go malice in the palace in the comments?
Ooh, easy.
Yeah, I don't know about that. No throwing beers.
That's too much. Okay.
Jesus.
But we'll end it off on that note. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Basketball Lab podcast.